everyone, welcome back to Gintama's episode 272. A reunion also brings to the surface things you don't want to remember. And yeah, keeping with the Gintama having the silly titles, and I have Samstar with me.
Hello, 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 hello.
Yep, so we're gonna do our top 3 instead of top 5 like last week. And I'm gonna jump right into it with my number 3, Kick the Can in Gintama. Never really works out too well. There's a bit of a flashback with Gintoki and a couple of other characters from the past, and they won't play around and kick the can because they're waiting for a war to start, and they're kind of bored. They're just like, oh, what else are we gonna do around here? Because I just remember kick the can when they did it with the Shogun, and that was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. When they basically almost killed him and like hit him in the head and almost did like a Dragon Ball Z attack and almost blew the earth up. So yeah. Again, we kick the can. It also results in another explosion with, I guess, Kuro Kono, I guess, supposedly was in that explosion when they killed him. So I thought that was kind of, again, like I was saying, kick the can never goes right in Gintama ever. Something always screws it up.
You're also forgetting when they played the can. There was like the old ninja they played Kick the Can with, who may or may not have been a ghost. Which is also pretty relevant to this episode.
Oh,
but yeah, it's like, oops, we accidentally blew up the Phantom Fifth Man. It's like, ah, man, if you only stood out, you wouldn't have died in that explosion.
Yep, because, like, well, that is the character in Kuroko. He has no presence, so I thought it was pretty funny that they just forgot about him. He was counting to like 100 and blew him up.
And let's just bring this up right now. It's like, yes, the guy who voices Kuroko in Kuroko's Basket voiced Kurokono in Gintama, which is like, man, I'm so glad that they managed to get that to work out. It makes it so much funnier.
Yeah, it's like a cool tie-in. They bring him on from this one episode and let him do his thing. So, what was your number 3?
My number 3 was It's a Ghost!
Yep.
And it's like, I mean, obviously this episode was 99% humor, 1% like touching moments and whatnot. But it's like, yeah, that was kinda creepy, I guess. Like, before they went full silly, before they were going like, oh yeah, it's ghosts dressed up like they're basketball players. It was kind of creepy, and it's just like you saw characters disappearing one by one. First Katsura, then Sakamoto, and then Gintoki all alone with the ghost by him. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, if this wasn't Gintama, I might have been creeped out, but it was almost creepy, and that says a lot for this show.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty true on that statement. And they do play around Gintoki. He probably has, I think, the funniest freakouts when he's scared or something's freaking him out. He has funny reactions, I guess. My number 2 would be Shinsuke and Gintoki in the past were like this cool little duo, and they, back then I guess they were pretty good fighters, but they still didn't really get along. I know they obviously butted heads because they see things differently, but it's just funny seeing those two kind of get mad at each other and then take that anger towards each other and take it out on the enemy. Basically set this whole trap to lure them in and blow them up. Was just pretty cool just seeing those two work together, and it makes me a little sad that they're enemies, but it also makes it kind of interesting that they were maybe at one time friends, but not really. So, but
it's also like, remember the arc with the Benny Zakura and all that stuff? It's like you saw Gintoki and Katsura like fighting on the ship against all the aliens. It's like 99% of the time they are incredible idiots, but like that 1% of the time when they need to be serious alien killers, like they actually do manage to pull it off without feeling too cheap about it.
Yeah, that's true. And another note I had here is it's Shinsuke's Dio, obviously he's a voice actor, and he had Gintoki was in JoJo as well.
He was young Joseph Joestar.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny seeing those two together. When I heard Shinsuke, I was like, oh, that's where I heard him from. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm terrible with voice actor names, so it's like he really does pull off that menacing, I'm not going to kill you right now, but I'm totally going to kill you the second you're dead.
Right.
I'm going to kill you the second I have the advantage over you. That's what I meant to say.
String you along till he feels it's the right time.
Then I stick my fingers in your neck and suck out all your blood.
Yep. What was your number 2?
My number 2 was just freaking out Gintoki, and like him singing the Doraemon theme song at like a maniac pace was pretty funny. It's just like he was. I'm the guy who does his voice. Remind me his name.
Yes, I think it's Tomokazu Sugata. That's who that is.
Good enough. Tomokazu, he does a really great job, like bringing out the maximum tension in this guy because it's like just he had to be screaming at the top of his lungs, like for a solid like 2 minutes, just like Doraemon with his fourth dimensional pocket, he's going to help us out, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like screaming and freaking out for so long. It's just like I could totally imagine Ginto, like the guy in the voice recording dude, like just like bleeding from the throat. It's like, no, I must go on. I must keep this going. It's just like, man, he's not giving up. And it's just like, wow, I really, again, it's like, it's not scary. It's like 99% comedy, but it's just like, yes, if I was freaking out, I mean, I probably wouldn't sing the Doraemon theme song. I'd sing like the Totoro theme song.
Right.
But I'd still be freaking out just like Gintoki, so that made it so sweet.
And I thought it was funny that he was singing and he started doing the third verse. And they're like, "It was a third verse?" And he was making things up as he was singing.
Yeah.
It's funny. And my number one is Takashi, the I guess maybe filler boss this week, is the worst ghost because he actually freaks out at his own ghosts. And Gintoki's like, hold him. He's like, stay with me, man, don't die. And he's, like I said, the worst ghost. He didn't really follow his plan correctly. He's supposed to scare him, and yet he's the one that ended up being scared. So I thought it was pretty funny. Just like, again, but then that team is kind of a bunch of, idiots when you get down to it. A bunch of them really don't know what the hell they're doing half the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was funny.
Like, Shinsuke has been the only character in like the entire show who is not an idiot at some point.
Right, yeah.
Because like his advisors are all stupid. Everyone Gintoki knows is all stupid. It's just like he's the only guy who has somehow escaped that. Man, we're all idiots. But it's just like I hope you get a picture of him with that like that triangle thing that Japanese ghosts wear in his basketball outfit.
Yeah, it's funny.
And it's just like, oh man, it's like you could like if you dress up like a normal ghost, maybe it would still be stupid. But it's just like you're in a basketball uniform, and
yeah, and plus there's four of them. So Gintoki probably had to put two and two together, like, yeah, I'm obviously being pranked here.
And they had bandages on their face like they're mummies. It's like, that's not a Japanese ghost.
Right, and
mummies are Egyptian.
And throwing the can around like Kuroko's secret move.
Oh yeah, it's like, you're using misdirection. It's Kuroko's ultimate ability. It's like, oh god, you guys are so ridiculous.
Right.
I love you.
Yeah, I like them as they're a bunch of idiots. I mean, if they're all serious, I probably wouldn't like Gintama as much. But yeah, it's funny when even the villains can't do their job correctly, ever.
Let's just go right into my number one, which is, man, this was quite a master plan. So let me break this down for you if I think I can. Their plan was to create a fake Joey reunion party to lure their enemies out. And then by pretending about their friend who died in an explosion but didn't really die. We didn't actually mention that, but Kurokono has been alive the entire time. This was all a sham. But the Shinsuke's guys, the Takachi and six shooter girl, like, they thought he was it. So they're like, yes, let's take the name of this dead guy who was totally not Kuroko from Kuroko's Basket, and we'll get them at a Joy reunion party. Then we'll freak them out by leaving cans of Pakuri around to remind them of that explosion that he didn't die in, but everyone thinks he died in. And once they're freaked out, we'll dress up like ghost basketball players. And then we'll really get them. And then we'll eliminate them. Yeah, that's the plan. This can't fail. The plan has been set in stone, and we're sticking to the plan.
Yep.
Oh man, it's like
I'd almost say it's almost equivalent to like a Scooby-Doo villain. That
totally
they're not. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't even think of that. That's exactly what this is. It's like, yeah, I'm the
undead basketball player.
Those peddling kids out.
Right. Scare them away from this house because I want it. And I even thought it was funny that they even fed them, got them all a little bit drunk. It's like you kind of gave them a reward more than a scare, but maybe.
It's like, and I mean, like, the guy shows up as Shinsuke. Is like, he considered Kurokono his dearest of compatriots. Here, this is the can that symbolizes the sin we all bear for his untimely death. It's like, this is the worst, best plan I think I've heard in quite a while.
Right, yeah. It was kind of, it had a bunch of holes in it. I would say the plan
Well,
they said together.
the whole is that Kurokono is an actual living person.
Right, they didn't do their
He's just
research.
like, and he somehow knew to show up. It's like, wait a minute, I'm Kurokono, and I didn't die in that explosion.
Right,
It's a
yeah.
trap.
So it's like who tricked who? I wonder, you know. So
And like, I don't, yeah, did Gintoki know the entire time that he was still alive, or it was just like, oh, that's right, you just disappeared so you
mhm.
could back us up from the shadows. That way you don't have to appear in future arcs, and we don't have to mention you going forward.
Right, yeah. It's like, because he did make the comment in the past before he left that no one's gonna remember me, but Gintoki was like, well, I can remember you. At least one person will. So yeah, maybe he
Oh.
kind of slightly knew, but then he probably forgot. You know, him, he probably forgot.
And there's that scene right at the end where like you see that can of there's two cans next to each other.
hmm
Gintoki's drinking one's like, yeah, we were all just drunk. It's one wild and crazy night, right, fellas? Am I right? And it's just like, cut to black. Wow, that would almost be touching if it wasn't so stupid.
It wasn't so, yeah, it's a little cheesy on
I
side, but
wouldn't have
yeah.
it any other way.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
wouldn't have any other way.
Right. And I guess you're gonna end it with a quote of the show? Quote from the show, I guess.
Oh, yes, and this is one that I think we should all take this one to heart. In response to Sakamoto and all his talk about going to the whorehouses, Gintoki has the great line, "Man, not everyone shares your 'all men are Eskimo brothers' motto." And that will get you out of a lot of trouble.
True. Yeah, that was pretty good. So, anything else I mentioned in this episode? I mean, I think we kind of covered almost everything. I
Yeah,
think
I
it was a
mean,
good mini arc. 2 episodes.
so many loving references to a wonderful manga that probably is more popular than Gintama. So many silly quirks about the characters. It was just solid gold comedy.
Oh yeah, all in all, it's a pretty solid episode. I guess we'll
Mm-hmm.
see you guys next week for the next episode. And looks like I'm not sure what we're doing next week for like if it's gonna be a serious arc or what they're doing, but maybe more
Remember
comedy.
what was in the preview?
I don't think I'd seen I think I saw it, but I don't think I remember.
Well, it's a surprise to all of us then.
Okay, good. That's kind of how I like shows to end without showing anything. Just a title screen. That's all I need.